Assalamu alaikum. This is the second video, the 4-part series I promised. And alhamdulillah, this one's going to be addressing young Muslim brothers. And so this is pretty much what I've been thinking about for a while. And inshallah, hopefully we can address some issues in our community and really try to realize what's actually going on instead of just ignoring what's actually happening. You understand? So I think that's also something to put in your mind, that we have to address our issues, I think, rather than just ignoring them. I don't actually think we're having discussions as far as what's actually happening to us as an ummah, what's actually going on in our communities. You have either people that just don't want to think about it, or you have people that want to participate in things that they shouldn't be doing, and so they don't want to talk about, obviously, what they're doing wrong. But I think there's got to be a middle ground where both parties meet, because we're all one ummah at the end of the day, whether you're practicing Islam or you're not practicing Islam. But if you're a Muslim, it's still your concern, because you obviously still are Muslim. You haven't left the religion, so you still have a stake in your ummah as well, a stake in your community. Perhaps you might have a different viewpoint as far as what direction you think life should go, but Allahu Alam, we can look at it through an Islamic perspective and go from there, and then deal with it like that, in my opinion, because Allah is the creator of everything. It's His opinion. It's Allah's way of life. Otherwise, every person in the world has his own idea. Every person in the world has their philosophy. And if everyone in the world follows their own line of thought, what do you think that's going to end up looking like? There'll be no cohesion, obviously, in anything. Also, Allah won't accept anything except for what He has prescribed, obviously. That's a pretty simple concept. That's not hard to imagine. But just to start, I want to address the young Muslim brothers and the youth, and I want to send a message. And this would actually be a message that would actually apply to even non-Muslims, honestly. And it's basically this idea of, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to have my fun, I'm going to basically pretty much sleep with all these girls that I can. Alright, let's say you make that move, and that's your decision. Well, what's that going to end up being? What's that going to end up leading you? And that's what I want you to think about. Number one, I'll give you a hadith just to give you the idea of what it's like to disobey Allah. If you drink a drop of alcohol, right? Rasul said that if you drink one drop of alcohol, Allah will not answer your du'as for 40 days. Think about that. That's committing a major sin, obviously, right? Obviously, anything near zina is like a major sin as well. You understand? And so, by committing these acts, you're pretty much cutting yourself off from your Lord. You're cutting yourself off, and you're saying, I got this on my own. I can handle this. I don't need Allah. I'm good. I can do this. Grades, I'm keeping up my grades. I got food. I've got wealth. And I'm going to go and just cut off the blessings that I need to succeed and do it on my own. You understand? That's a very dangerous attitude. Because if you adopt that attitude, you're going to actually become arrogant as well, because you're going to become in a false mindset of being self-sufficient, when in fact Allah is just simply letting you go further and further and further and further away. So if you find success in your life while you're living a lifestyle that's simply against what Allah has prescribed, this would be a good warning message for you if you happen to hear it. Realize you could be going in the most dangerous place, and that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will seal the people's hearts. And if Allah seals your heart, how would you ever find guidance back again? Why is it important to have guidance? Honestly, I'll be real with you. Hey, if this world was all that it was, if it was all about this world, there was no hereafter, I would honestly be just like you. I would be out there doing everything I wanted to do and just taking whatever the worst consequences of this life will be. Okay, fine. He didn't have a great career, but he still lives comfortably. I mean, that's kind of where we're going with all this. You understand? We got to think a little bit deeper, realize there's a lot more at stake with our daily lives than we realize. There's a lot more at stake with our actions. There's a lot more at stake with the lifestyle we're choosing to live. We're not talking about a mistake now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can easily forgive a mistake. If you did anything wrong but you turned back to Him and you wanted to change your life, Allah can do that easily. That's not our issue, actually. We're dealing with an accepted consensus amongst really a majority of Muslims, man. Honestly, or a large number. Too big of a number for it to not be like a really big problem that we have. It's like an epidemic, basically. And so we've come to a consensus that we're going to do it our way, live however we want, do whatever we want for these next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and then we're going to come back to Allah. I mean, that's the biggest misconceptions Muslims have carried on for so many generations now. And that's why we are in the state we are in the whole world. And this is why, as a Muslim, I'm fighting my best to change our culture, to change our way of thinking a little bit, and to try to reach people, because I want us to succeed. We're a family. We're an ummah. We're one unit here. I don't want any Muslim across the world to suffer. You understand? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds us as an ummah in this world. In the hereafter, every man for himself. Nobody's going to care about a single person, period. But even on that aspect, we should care to know, like, man, that's my Muslim brother, man. That's my sister. I don't want that person to have any pain when they hit the grave. You understand? I mean, even for non-Muslims, you should look at them and say, I want them to be safe, man. That's why we should give Dawa. It's huge calamities on our way. I mean, the Day of Judgment is not going to be anything light. Death is coming for everyone. We should be preparing for that on a daily basis, living our lives for that. It's eternity that we're trying to prepare for. I don't know why that doesn't sink in, but it's a hard concept to get across. It really is. But that's really why, one of the main reasons we do this. This is why we worship Allah, we obey Allah, because number one, we love Allah. He gave us everything we have. Number two, we're going to be held to account for everything we've ever done in our lives. Do you know what the punishment for zina is on the Day of Judgment? To just show you how serious this is, because people take it lightly, like, hey, I'm not hurting anyone, I'm just having some fun, Allah will forgive me easily. Well, actually, that's not quite how it works in Islam. You understand? You're fooling yourself. If you transgress into something as a lifestyle, that's a whole nother level than just committing a mistake that you didn't intend on doing. That's two different ball games. Do you understand? And with men, we're a little bit more understanding of what we're looking for. We're not as innocent as our female counterparts. They fall into it probably not as with a plan like we do. We know what we're going for when we go out. Do you understand? So keep in mind your accountability in front of Allah. When you're thinking what you're thinking, you're going to do that night. Do you understand? But on the Day of Judgment, there's going to be the people that committed zina. The stuff you think is harmless. You know what Allah's going to do with these people for that sin? Because it's such a major thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us about. He's going to have them in a huge room that's round. And it's going to be like a funnel. It's going to be like funnels up to a smaller point. And it's got a small little hole at the top. And it's going to be burning on the bottom where their feet are burning. The people are burning in this thing. They're going to be jumping on this thing and trying to get out of it. They can never get out of it, obviously. Do you understand? What if you don't go to hell, but that's your punishment for your zina? What if Allah does forgive you because you made tawbah, but because you've done this as a lifestyle, you still have to go through these steps on the Day of Judgment to be purified? Do you understand that? You guys realize that? That you could be jeopardizing the life of your grave. Do you understand what it's going to be like in your grave? You know that the Sahabas would look at the graves and they would cry. SubhanAllah. Just because they knew what was going on in there. Rasul said that I would have asked Allah to let you hear the voices from the grave. But if you were going to hear their punishments, it would make everything die. All the creation would, whoever would hear that would die. Because we wouldn't be able to handle hearing what's going on in these graves. Do you understand? Life is a very serious thing. Allah, we should take Him very seriously. Allah's not a joke, man. He's not somebody you play a game on and you say, I got this for now. When you fully know what his rules are, what his commands are, you know this. You're a Muslim. You've been raised with this. All right? You probably know more than I do. SubhanAllah. Don't play games with yourself. I urge you, as a Muslim brother, we have to stand up in this deen and be men. As a Muslim brother, we have to stand up in this deen and show our sisters the way of life that we're trying to tell them about. Inshallah. We're trying to call them to something, and we're not doing it ourselves. So imagine when a sister sees a brother doing something, she's going to feel entitled. Now it's my turn. Well, what does that do to our community as a whole? First, it makes us men turn into a bunch of perverts, actually. And it makes us turn into men that when you do actually want to settle down, now you can't. You know how many stories I've heard? Muslim brothers, they got married, and then they lived that lifestyle before they got married, and now they're back in the club. They're cheating on their wives, man. So you're creating a fitna in yourself that you're not going to be able to control. You think you're going to be able to turn it off right when you get married. That's not true. Whatever you create for yourself that's haram in this world becomes an addiction for you. Whatever it is, if Allah made something haram and you persist in it and you do it, you're creating yourself you're only creating yourself a way greater hurdle now for you to get over to get to paradise. That's all you're doing for yourself. And these sins that we're compounding and we're absorbing and we're collecting, they're affecting our ummah. They're affecting all of us. It's like a disease. It spreads. People see you doing it, then they see that person doing it, and then that person wants to do it, and now everyone's doing it together. And that's what you brought in your life, and that's what's now in your account. And you're going to face Allah with all that. Do you understand? And now you're also going to have the burden in your chest, on your heart, for the rest of your life to deal with this. You're not going to be able to escape. Now Shaitan has another opening to try to bring you to hellfire. Why would you give him that? Instead of protecting your fortress. Do you understand? Protecting your iman. Do you understand this game that we're in? It's a long run game. It's not a game that consists of the first 2 or 3 years of youth and then you change and you're good. Do you understand? We're running a marathon here. You need to stay in shape from beginning to end to make it. So many are going to fail now. So many are failing, period. They're not going to even come back. Do you understand? Their hearts are going to be so clouded after this time in their lives. They're not going to be able to stop, period. Forget marriage. You know what I mean? The brothers I see out there, and they're still living this life. They can't leave it now. They're attached. And when you try to leave, it's going to be so much harder. Why would you create for yourself a huge burden, a huge obstacle to get you to paradise? It doesn't make any sense. But even more than that, it destroys our ummah, man. It destroys our ummah. Our ummah is being decimated, and we're not going to get the blessings we need in our community to overcome this stuff. And more are going to fall. And we're going to become more broken down until you just see more Muslims actually they don't even pray anymore. They don't even practice anymore. They drink every weekend. They have nothing to do with Islam. They're pretty much not Muslim anymore. A lot of them leave, become Christians, become everything. Is that what you want? Is that how you want it to end up? Because that's where it's going to lead. It's just a natural process of events. There's nothing you can do to change the laws of nature. They are what they are. If you practice something, you become stronger in it. If you disregard something, you become weaker in it. And that's just input creates output. It's a very simple equation here. Allah didn't make it complicated. It's our choice. What we decide to do with our lives, with Allah, in this world, it's our choice. And we're going to either get the benefits of the decision we're going to make, or we're going to get the deficits. And that's just simply what it's going to boil down to. And I pray every day for our ummah, and I pray for our youth, because it starts at a young age. The Sahabas didn't wait until we're old before they practiced Islam. Okay, you had so many of the youngest Sahabas, when they were young, that's how they became the greatest in the world, because they took this deen to their heart as children, man. As children. Do you understand? That's our job, to take this knowledge of Allah, this power that Allah is giving us right in our hands, as young people, man, so that we could become strong adults, not broken down people that are addicted to everything in the world. One thing or another, can barely get up to pray, can barely make it to the masjid. That's going to be the result of you. You're not going to turn into this super Muslim all of a sudden. Okay, don't lose yourself in one or two stories of someone who changed their lives. Those stories are far and few in between. Look at the statistics, man. Look at our neighborhoods, man. Try to talk to some people that deal with these people. Shoot, you'll see what the results are in this devastation. We have to fight, and we have to turn it around, inshallah. And we have to change our culture. We have to understand that we have to have discussions about what's going to make it more conducive to practice this religion with each other. We have to get rid of this separation barrier between men and women. You have to have Muslims dating Muslims for the sake of getting married eventually, but let them have their options open. It's not a big haram thing if a Muslim's dating another Muslim until they feel comfortable to get married, and if it doesn't work, fine, but let them have halal options in their lives. We have to change this culture about us that we've turned our back on each other so that the shaitan is welcoming us in. You understand? We have to work on that. That's a big thing. You understand? We have to allow for human nature to take place. You understand? In our lives as well. And stop applying these culturally strict ideas to ourselves, because we're only decimating ourselves. And the elders probably aren't going to get it. They want to put their head in the sand and say things should be this way, and that's not reality. We have to deal with what's real, and we have to come with solutions for them for the sake of Allah. And so if we have to do whatever we have to do to coordinate activities for men and women together so that they can have a chance to see Muslims and be together and hopefully be interested in each other and no longer interested in the kuffar, and have fun and get their human needs met, all in a halal environment, we could have a win-win situation. We could actually have both, man. We could have a good time together, right? We could enjoy this religion as brothers and sisters. We could get married to the person we actually want to be with, not someone that we just take because we don't have any choice because you've never seen a woman in your life. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of cultural things that are killing us. We have to change those as well, but it's going to start with our Muslim men, our Muslim youth, standing up and saying, man, I'm a Muslim, man. Let me do something for the sake of Allah now. Let me try to please Allah. Let me use my imagination, my creativity, right, for the sake of Allah, in Allah's way, right? Allah needs all of our, minds. Let's use them in His path, and we could create a win-win situation. We don't have to fall down like this, man. It could be good for everything. It could all be good. Honestly, it's not that hard. It's not that big of a mission I'm proposing here. So may Allah wake us up a little bit here. Let's, inshallah, start focusing now on our ummah and ourselves, and let's come back to Allah, and let's see what Allah opens for us, inshallah. Sorry about the length of the video, but this is normally how I do it. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.